It's your weekly F1 wrap up with Jess. Let's get into it. This week, we are talking Australian Grand Prix. And I just want to start with what the heck was that? Let's break it down, shall we? We had 4 red flags, 3 standing starts, and a ridiculous amount of DNFs. To start with, Charles put his Ferrari in the gravel of turn 3 on lap 1, right in front of my grandstand, I mind you. Shortly after this, Alex Albon put his Williams in the wall, and George's Mercedes caught fire. But the chaos didn't end there. After a relatively calm few laps, more chaos ensued when K-Mag hit the wall between turns 2 and 3, and Max decided that his gap up front was getting to be a little bit ridiculous and thought he would go off-roading. A nice little detour to keep himself awake behind the wheel, given he wasn't required to do a lot of racing at this point. This was after K-Mag put it in the wall, we got a red flag, and on the restart, Logan Sargent wiped out Nick de Vries, Pierre took out Esteban, and Carlos wiped out his childhood hero in Fernando Alonso, and this was all by turn 4 of lap 57. This resulted in yet another red flag, and the race concluding under safety car, with the grid classification reverting to where things began prior to the carnage of the restart, leaving a few teams quite unhappy. The 2 teams impacted the most by this decision to revert the grid back were Haas and Ferrari. Now, both teams had already had one driver DNF in K-Mag and Charles, and before the carnage at least had some hope of salvaging their weekend. For Haas, Nico Hulkenberg managed to position in P4, however was dropped into 7th after the reshovel, and once Carlos was awarded his penalty for his collision with Alonso. Haas lodged an appeal over the result on the basis that it was a breach of Article 57.3 of the sporting regulations. However, their pleas were dismissed by the stewards, and Hulkenberg's P7 position was upheld. Nevertheless, this is still the best result for the team so far this year, and they were much better off than Ferrari, I might add. As for Ferrari, they are lodging their own appeal with the stewards for the 5-second penalty awarded to Carlos in the restart, which saw the Spaniard drop out of the points and down to P12, making him the last car to finish that wasn't a DNF. No indication as yet about the appeal, but I guess we'll find out before Baku. And to compound all of this, a fan was struck by debris from one of the many incidents. Fans decided to swarm the track before the conclusion of the race, and the Grand Prix itself was summoned to the stewards to explain how and why this was able to happen. And let's not forget, the man in charge of the debacle that was the 2021 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, and who single-handedly gifted Max Verstappen his world championship, Michael Massey, decided to show his face once again in the F1 paddock. Coincidence that this race was a disaster? I don't think so. So, did anything good actually come out of this race? Well, if you ask Sergio Perez and the boys over at McLaren, yes, they did. Perez managed to come back 15 places and finish in P5 after crashing out of qualifying in the opening minutes and starting at the back of the grid in 20th position. And as for McLaren, well, they managed to keep themselves out of the chaos this week and brought it home for a double points finish in rookie Oscar Piastri's home race. This skyrocketed the team, who have been struggling for performance all season, from last in their constructors to 5th position on 12 points. And what's more is they are now 4 points ahead of their main rival from last season, Alpine. What's to come? Who knows? But fingers crossed they're bringing some upgrades that can maintain this trajectory. Surely they can't keep going 2 races with no points, 1 race with a point. But ultimately, fingers crossed, Baku is a little less eventful off the track and, maybe just a little bit less eventful on the track as well. That's it for today. This has been your weekly F1 wrap up with Jess. If you're not already, please give me a follow on TikTok or Instagram. It's been a pleasure having you. If you'd like to send me any questions or have anything that you want to know more about, please feel free to shoot me a DM or anything. Until next time, thanks, guys.